Please forgive me. Normally described as the black cat on the red label, ever ready. So I tend to move ahead of time. I wish to add my welcome to that which has already been extended. And I wish to request the assistance of the head of our ministry, head of our organization, the Minister of National Security. So you may be able to advise me with a little scenario I'm about to share with you, and perhaps I can get some advice from you all after the service. I had an interesting experience. I was just visiting one of the units and trying to inspire and to encourage them, because as mentioned earlier, a lot of time the encouragement does not come from without, it must come from within. So I was sharing with them how the nation is like a ship. And in fact, is normally described as a ship of state. And every nation has territorial borders. And members of the Defense Force are called out of ordinary society to take their positions on the borders of the nation, and we call them watchmen on the wall. The border is like a fence. And in fact, it describes the essence and the nature of the Defense Force, because the prefix D means away from, and the word fence. So our job, in essence, is to keep undesirables away from the fence. And so, being called outside, where we get this word, the prefix extra, we're called outside of the ordinary, and we were placed in positions of being extraordinary. And so, as I continue to expound on the nature of our calling, I begin to remind our men and women of the duties we are required to undertake. From time to time, we're required to act in the capacity of police officers, immigration officers, customs officers, fisheries inspectors, national emergency management agents, search and rescue, and the list goes on and on. And in fact, I summarized the whole session by saying that every member of the Defense Force really represents 6 persons in one. And I know everybody perked up on that. And this is where I have a situation developing. Several weeks later, they invited me to come back and address it, the same unit. I felt very, very impressed. And I wanted to know when would they like me to return. And someone advised me, now be careful. Because when you said you represent 6 in one, someone played the number and won. So I'll try not to call any numbers in here today. You know, we are truly grateful for this honor, Reverend Moss. As mentioned earlier, the encouragement mainly comes from within and not necessarily from without. And as I echo the sentiments of Ms. Murray by saying that when things go wrong, then you hear the noise in the market. So on behalf of the members of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, I want to say how truly grateful and appreciative we are. And I think I would like to express some degree of personal gratitude in the sense that I myself was born in Grantstown. And perhaps I might go a little bit further and say I was born twice in Grantstown. There's a little church on Blue Hill Road at the corner of Vesey Street. I think they call it the Evangelistic Center, where when my life was in a complete mess, I stumbled into the church doors and there I committed my life to Christ. So I owe a lot to Grantstown. There's a story told of some young boys around the corner bragging about the dreams they wish to achieve in life. And one said they have it in their heart to go to the moon. And the other said, I could beat that. I am going to go to Pluto. And the other one thought to himself, wow, how could I beat this? And he came up with an idea. And he said, you know what? I will go to the sun. And the kids burst out laughing at him. How foolish. You know you'll be burnt up. And the guy answered, haha, that's where you missed it. I will go in the night. We laugh because we understand that in life there are some laws you must understand, appreciate, and respect. Regardless how grand the dream is, and regardless how you feel about it, you must respect some laws. And so life's highways are filled with traffic signs and boundary lines that work toward the common good of all, to ensure that each of us who travel on life's highway arrive at our destination safe, sound, and whole. And these traffic signs and boundary lines are what we call laws. And the purpose of a law is for the long-term sustainable development of communities and societies. And so we must respect them. And by the way, Mr. Munnings, I forgot to mention that I spent a couple of years growing up next door to the Cat and Fiddle, a place called Pig and Whistle. Now, here's the challenge. The challenge is we pursue good things in life. It may be position, it may be money or material needs, or it may be pleasure. But when we pursue them the wrong way, by stepping out of bounds or the boundaries of life, then problems occur. And so, among those problems are what we call addictions. If you ever got a good thing the wrong way, now don't everybody look straight at me, don't look to the left or the right. You tend to become addicted to the process, and it's hard to shake loose. And there's a story told about, and it's a true fact of life, how monkeys are caught. If you dig a hole small enough so that the monkey can put his hand in it, and you put a couple nuts in that hole, the monkey sticks his hand in the hole, lays hold of those nuts, and even if the hunter is coming, he will not let go of the nut. And he is slaughtered in the process. He has become addicted to the nut. So in life we must ask ourselves the question, what nuts are we addicted to that we must let go to move forward in life? Stay focused. So our job in the law enforcement realm is really to help people stay on the highway of life, within the boundaries of life, and to follow the traffic signs of life, and to help each other to really, truly respect what law is all about. And in closing, I want to say what a privilege it is to be able to work together with my colleagues in the security forces. And sometimes when we get together, there's always the question, well, who's the best? But I can solve that right now for you. BEST is an acronym. It stands for Bahamian Enforcers Serving Together. I go on that.
We trust that somebody recorded that because I would like to use that best. You have it. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Acting Commodore. Following the selection from the St. John's Male Fellowship Choir, we will hear from Now I know the first one was not. That was not a coincidence. I think you all collaborated to do this to me because I thought I was on my game. The commissioner had confirmed his presence today, but he was called away. He sent a representative that I got all the information on a representative to introduce him, all his rank and everything. And I'm still going to do that. I'm not going to be deprived of the privilege of making that announcement. But you're there already.
Thank you.
Brother Ferguson. So you're there.
Good.
Why don't you just go ahead and bring your...
Thank you very much, Dr. Moss. Platform, Reverend Gentleman, Minister of National Security, Dr. Nordich, Leader of the Opposition, law enforcement colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I bring greetings on behalf of the Commissioner of Police and the senior executive leadership team of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And we are indeed happy and honored to be a part of this special service this afternoon and to join the organizers in giving God thanks for all that He has done and all that He continued to do. We believe that this is the right thing to do, to go to God for help and to keep Him in the forefront of everything, for we know that He will continue to come to our rescue. As law enforcement officers, let us continue to do the service that we are called to do and to continue to uphold the law in all aspects of the laws, to ensure that our people are made safe as they work, visit, and play in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and to continue to support the future of our nation, that is our youth. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you this afternoon.
Well, thank you all very much. We are so deeply appreciative of your presence and your remarks. Let's give them all another round of applause. Now, we are all seated in the historic St. John's Native Baptist Church, which was established around, 1835 by Mr. Prince Williams. Yes, the same Prince Williams who 45 years earlier established Bethel Baptist Church. And you may be interested in knowing that when he died, Prince Williams was buried here in St. John's Native Baptist Church. Now, I do not mean his funeral service was held here. I mean he was buried here. And someone may ask, where is his grave? And my response to you is, I am standing on it. For Prince Williams is buried there. Isn't that right, Bishop? Prince Williams is buried under the baptism pool, right here. Bain Grantstown, known as Over the Hill, has produced outstanding national personalities. The truth is that over the last 150 years, most of the leading personalities in this nation, in all spheres of interest, whether it's politics, business, sports, culture, whether it's in religion. Some of the greatest pastors and preachers were products of Bay and Grantstown. And so we are extremely proud of that fact. Now, we always seek to clarify that our Bay and Grantstown is not the political Bay and the Grantstown. See, those are political boundaries, and they change very frequently. Every time someone feels that he has an advantage, you change it. We are talking about the historic, the cultural, the geographic Bay and Grantstown, which doesn't change. And that's bordered roughly on the west by Nassau Street, on the east by Collins Wall, on the south by Poinciana Drive, Wolf Road, and on the north by really East Hill Street, West Hill Street, but for convenience, we say Shirley Street. That's Bay and Grantstown, or over the hill. Less than 500 feet from where we are now is the grave site of the co-founder of Baintown, Mr. Alexander Bain. When you step out the door, look just over there in the park. Well, let me correct, it's not a park. That is a cemetery out there. The Bethlehem Cemetery was established in the late 1600s. And Alexander Bain was buried there in 1791. You will see his monument right at the southwest section there. Several years ago, some smart person decided they will put park equipment in the cemetery. Fortunately, we are working with the Ministry of Works to have the area reverted. Bay and Grantstown is tremendously important. And it is really made up of 3 towns. Delancey Town is just across there. That was established in 1790. The smallest of the 3 towns. Grantstown, the second established town, is the largest. That was established in 1820. Baintown was in 1840. These towns are tremendously important, not only to the historical or the social, but also to the psychological development of our people, since almost all of our black people roots can be traced into these towns. And it is my pleasure to introduce 2 very outstanding products of Bay and Grantstown. The Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, the distinguished leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, is a Baintown man. Born in Hospital Lane, grew up in Hospital Lane. He knows what it's like to be living in a community like Baintown. And we are balanced, as we like to be, by the Honorable Dr. Bernard J. Nottage, who is a Grantstown man, a product of E Street. And on a number of occasions when we have similar services, they both, and we love to have that balance, Baintown and the Grantstown. And so we're going to invite Dr. Minnis at this time to bring remarks to us, followed by the Honorable Dr. Bernard J. Nottage, who is also the Member of Parliament for the Bain and Grantstown constituency. Give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am so happy to be here this afternoon, in Baintown, as was stated, the place of my birth. And I'm even more happy today to have my lovely wife accompany me. You see, she had already attended 2 church services for the day. but she knew how important it was and how significant Baintown is to me, and she could not allow me to come and return to the place of my birth without her accompanying me. So I thank you. Reverend C.B. Morris, Dr. Bernard Nottage, Minister with responsibility for national security, members of the pastoral group, officers and members of our law enforcement agencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is a real pleasure for me to be here today, and I thank Reverend C.B. Morris and members of the Bain and Grantstown Advancement Association for giving me this opportunity. It is always the right time to worship and offer thanks and praise to our Creator. Furthermore, I can't think of a better time than now to show appreciation to you, to each and every one of you, our law enforcement officers. You are essential to the future progress of the Bahamas, our precious homeland. At this point in our history, no well-meaning person could deny that crime has risen to an unacceptable level. In this 42nd year of our independence, we find that more and more of our freedoms are being stripped by escalating assaults on men, our women, our children, our businesses, and even our law enforcement officers. As a Christian nation, any assault on members of our citizenry should strike us to the heart and cause us to grieve. Law enforcement officers stand in the gap for us in the face of the tide of violence that is threatening to dismantle our Bahamian society and bleed us of our natural resources. You are the ones who are stopping it from drowning us. And I appreciate you. The Bahamas appreciates you. I salute all law enforcement officers, and I want you to know that I appreciate the work that you do. And I thank you for your service. In my capacity as Member of Parliament and Leader of the Opposition, I pledge to do all in my power to support you and the cause for which you put your lives on the line each and every day. I pledge to promote a more enlightened view of crime. I say again, I am a product of Baintown. Baintown and Grantstown and similar communities have produced many like me who had the opportunity for a good education and studied hard to overcome poverty and other forms of adversity. This isn't a fluke. In my time, it took the support of caring parents, guardians, neighbors, teachers, priests, and yes, most of all, police officers. These good people worked day and night to keep us on the straight and narrow. A caring community took pride in seeing us rise and gave us a push upwards when needed. Today, there are more youngsters who resist the pull of crime. Let us rise up as a community again to snatch more potential leaders from the hands of this evil. You see, if crime is the crime of community, the salvation of a community must come from concerted action within the community and on national level. We all must own a piece of the problem and make our best contribution to tuning into a new channel, a channel of peace. All of us, government, politicians, educators, churches, social services, civic organizations, and citizens of goodwill must join law enforcement to take crime in hand and the societal problems feeding the monster. In this regard, the Bain and Grantstown Association is a shining example, lighting a path for us all to follow. Strive to do all in your power to empower them to do their jobs safely, so that at the end of the day, they return safely to whom. Strive also to keep the morale of the law enforcement officers high and positive, so that as they return home with great morale, they would be energized to take care of their families at home, because they too must look after their families. As law enforcement personnel, I implore you to continue to commit to service. You are the nation's bulwark against a raging storm. Seek to serve before seeking promotion. With the Lord's help, the promotion will always follow service excellence. As good citizens, let us support the Police Staff Association and similar bodies concerned with bettering the condition of law enforcement officers and their families, especially the loved ones who lost their lives in the line of duty. Every time I see Arlington National Cemetery, I look forward to one day seeing a similar cemetery here in the Bahamas for our law enforcement officers. Let us support officers assigned to the areas in which we live by becoming neighborhood watchers and by reporting crime. Let us thank those officers who consistently do a good job respecting and protecting the public they serve.